There's a sound that hasn't been heard much since the 1930s and the golden era of Martin guitar, a sound that makes a Martin's tone woods come alive and sing with beauty and power. Nickel bass strings are back. They dominated acoustic guitars for decades before disappearing. Now you can have that unique, highly sought-after pre-war vintage tone. We call these strings retros, and once you start playing them, they'll transport you back to a bygone era. As legendary bluegrass guitarist Tony Rice recently said when he played the retros, "Welcome back, old friend. I've missed you." Before nickel bass strings first appeared in the early 20th century, guitar strings were primarily made from gut. Monels were the first nickel bass strings to be used on guitars. The alloy was designed by the International Nickel Company and named after Ambrose Monel, president of the company. At Martin, Monels were first used on mandolins and later appeared on guitars starting in 1922. Nickel bass strings were played for the next 5 decades until nickel became harder to obtain and phosphor bronze strings rose in popularity.
Retro strings definitely sound different, and one of the great things about them is it's a different wrap. And it's not the traditional 80-20, 92 where you talk about having phosphor or bronze as part of the string. This goes back years before where they were using Monel. And this nickel alloy or blended alloy delivers a whole different sound. And what's really beautiful about it, it's less about that wrap material and just more about the natural sound of your guitar. So what you're hearing isn't so much the influence of the string as it is your wood choice and how your guitar is built. So great guitars sound even better, good guitars will sound great. It takes away that impact of the wrap wire. It doesn't tarnish, it really doesn't corrode quickly, so you get a longer lasting, great sounding string that lets your guitar talk to you.
Players will love the way our retro strings feel and sound. They're soft and give and slide with little effort. While strumming retros, you'll hear a warm woody tone that rings out with amazing clarity. They're designed to bring out the best possible sound of your guitar's wood and deliver a vintage sound that's right out of the 1930s and Martin's golden era.
There was this renaissance of guitars, and a lot of it had to do with steel strings being placed on guitars. It became prominent in the 1880s, and by the 1920s, it's pretty much what everybody's playing. And back then, Monel was the wrap material of choice on strings.
Tony Rice is one of the best bluegrass guitarists the world has ever seen. You may not know that he's played nickel-based strings almost exclusively throughout his long and storied career.
Several years ago, Tony Rice came to us, and we know who Tony Rice is. He's a great bluegrass player. I mean, who would turn down a conversation with Tony Rice about strings? And he said to us, "My D28 is absolutely beautiful. I love playing it, but it doesn't sound like it used to. Something's missing, something, I want something more out of it." And as we got into the conversation with him, he brought up, well, he used to play this Monel material, and we know about it. We used to make Monel strings, and he said, "Can you make me a set?" So we did a lot of research. We found out you can still get it, so we looked into it. It proved something we could do, so we made these strings for him. We sent them to him. He called us back after he had them, and he said, "Thank you, you brought my guitar back." Not sure what that meant at first, but what he meant was he was hearing his guitar again. In fact, he used the term, "Welcome back, old friend."
Tony Rice's signature strings broke out from bluegrass to become popular in folk, rock, and country. That led us to developing the retro light and custom light gauges for players with a lighter hand.
These strings aren't just about bluegrass or for bluegrass. These strings with this great Monel material let your guitar speak to you. We've now had Lawrence Juber, he's picking up a set with us, and he's a great finger stylist. He wants to hear every note out of his guitar. These strings are perfect for that. These strings let your guitar really bring its voice out. So regardless of rock, bluegrass, even folk music, these strings are about your guitar's voice. It's about letting your guitar sing the way it wants to. So they're really for anybody.